Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pillar to Post. I am Rashaun Alleyne, and I'm joined again by Kobia and Hamblin. And it's the
What's
big
up,
one.
guys?
It's the Visit Barbados Derby Raceday, and it's featuring the Visit Barbados Derby, and it ends our Triple Crown Kobia. It's going to be a thrilling one.
And you know what, Rashawn? As much as we don't have a 2025 Triple Crown horse, we don't have a horse who's won both the Midsummer and the Guineas. We have a Pick-6 that is paying $20,000 minimum. We still have some exciting races on the card.
No, the day is going to be really good. As you said, we don't have a Triple Crown on the line, but it's one of the most thrilling Triple Crowns we've had in a very long time. A lot of conversation sparked over these races, and then on top of that, as a minimum winner of the Pick 6, that you could take home over $20,000. It's going to be a great day, and it's going to get started. Race one, it's the Pride of Barbados, a lot of weights race, and it's for 3-year-olds, but these are maidens who on Derby Days are still trying to find their first win. And I think everyone is going to jump to the rail with Mystique, and we both agree.
Yeah, I think everyone's main choice is going to be Mystique, and second, third, and fourth may vary for everyone. But when we look at Mystique, I was watching a race from her about May 25th. Um, she's the most experienced horse in the race. She would have raced with, in this specific replay, with Heidi Marie, where she was beaten about 5 lengths or so. But this horse has placed from 5.5 to 7 to 9. And in these particular races, I tend to go with the horse with the most experience, especially if they're consistent. And Mystique ticks all boxes for me.
Yeah, she is definitely consistent and she is the class. And she's running behind a horse here a couple of starts back that ends up in the Derby. And if she runs this race back, she wins. There are races that she has on paper that a lot of them don't even come within the stratosphere of. It just was unfortunate last time when she was not a heavy favorite, which is gonna be on race day, that she just stood in the gates, got a rough trip after that. Nothing that really Jockey Williams could do, where the inside is not where you wanted to be. She made up some ground on the worst part of the track and then flat hand out late. I think those antics aside, and she gets out of the gate, she's going to be very
Yeah.
tough to beat. But I think she has a real rival in Vanquish, who we both agree underneath, and who beat her last time.
I do find Vanquish is a little immature. He shows me some immature tendencies. He shows me he's still a bit green. But what I do commend him for, the son of Aston Martin, he's just as beautiful as his dad. I do find that with every start he has, he does improve and gets better and better. I think last start he showed me, you know what? Before I wasn't sure what I was doing, but I've now figured out I'm a racehorse. And I think if he can give me the same attitude and effort he did his last effort, there's no question he should run second. As it relates to third and fourth, though, Rashawn, I think you can toss him in a hat and just pick one. I think it's really, really hard to select and be confident in your third and fourth line for race number one.
Yeah, when I was trying to come up with a third and fourth, I took like Vanquish and Mystique's name out of the hat, out of the ring, and I just scratched it out and tried to find what would I do if they were not in this race. And I was just like, I have no idea. So I ended up on Lioness, who is a little unexposed. She's a half sister to Hurricane. I don't love the race she's running on paper, but the pedigree and the connections really are the reason I'm going in this direction. And then Faster Cash, only because she hasn't gone the mile, but she's another one who's experience has some pretty good races, to be honest. But just because she hasn't gone the mile, I think stretching out, she's not bred necessarily to go farther. So I might
Okay.
take others who have a little less experience.
Okay. For my third choice, I did go with horse number 4, Kite. I did look at his bloodline. He's a 3-year-old chestnut colt by Storm Arrow out of Princess Tiana. Princess Tiana, if you remember, she started her career a bit later than others, but she showed us that she is the real deal. And Storm Arrow, the sons of Storm Arrow, the first one you think of is Hurricane. All of them were amazing horses. And I think once Kite understands, hey, I'm a racehorse.
Yeah.
He will show he's good enough. And I think this effort, at least, he should run third. And let's check him for next start.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see who runs underneath of Mystique and Vanquish if that plays to form. But it's going to be a nice appetite opener for the first race on the card. So race number two, it's the Pop Kite handicap, and it's for horses rated 90 and below. It goes 1,800 meters, and this is a really solid group of animals. These are the horses you're going to see in the Tango with the Breeders' Classics and stuff like that. But I'm going to go with a horse that I think is a Gold Cup caliber horse. Yeah, I said it. I think
Whoa.
that In Tempo
Whoa.
is that kind of animal, and I'm very
You've
impressed
got to
with
do
this
what you
animal.
gotta.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's gonna win. I just think he's that kind of horse who belongs in those kind of races, and I would hope that he can stay, sounding on the track till March and even beyond. But if you look at his last start off the bench, I think this is very indicative of why he's as highly rated in my eyes because he's off the bench here when he's running against Capro Cat and Anissa, who's loose on the lead. And he hadn't been seen since August. And I think it's noticeable here where Capro Cat's making his move and up the inside and is able to, get that little advantage on In Tempo, who's circling 3 to 4 wide. And then you bring him on race day now, and he's getting Muhammad, he's claiming 7. So if he can go to post with 113 pounds, the margin that he got to Capro Cat, who's probably going to vie for favoritism, if not be the favorite, I just think In Tempo, second off the bench, is going to be tough to turn back.
Okay. Now I have In Tempo on my third line. Your third line is my winner. And I can understand why people would be a bit lost as to why I chose Undisputed because he's a little inconsistent now that he's a bit older. But let's remember first and foremost, Undisputed is a half brother of Triple Crown winner Hurricane. Sorry, not Hurricane, People's Champ. On top of that, he is a Tanglewood winner. And what I do find with Undisputed is his better races don't come from 7.8 furlongs. As much as he is old, he is gold. His better races come from 9 and 10. He would win a 7.8, but I find it's against a pretty
Right.
bad field. And with your replay that you were talking about, Rashaun, you would find he was easily dismissed by Anissa. And I think Anissa is the best filly in the island right now. But Undisputed, I simply can't count. We're going back up his distance. He's back at his weight. He's accustomed to. There's no question in me that Undisputed is better than this field, and Undisputed will put these away very, very easily. In
No,
Tempo, I do have a big question mark on you saying he is a Gold Cup horse, but
I,
I'm not a
I don't know
genie.
what it
Only
is.
oh,
I think I look at him and I'm like, this horse is really a physical specimen, and I love the performances that he's shown me so far. Wish he could stay on the track a bit more consistently. With me, I think distributing the weight is always an issue with Undisputed. He's going to claim with Daniel, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He loves the 1,800 meters. I agree. But last time out, he was giving In Tempo 6 pounds. Now he's going to be giving In Tempo 12 pounds. And then Capro Cat, last time he gave him 8 pounds. Now he's giving him 7. So I just think those things with two horses that I think have some upside are going to be hard to peg back. But we'll see how the Pop Kite handicap goes. And race number 3, it's the Kadooment Sprint handicap, and it's now for sprinting for horses 80 and lower. And again, this is another group that's pretty insulated. You get more of the same when these kind of races are carded. And I strongly believe that Queen of the South, whenever she's sprinting, that's her game, and she's tough to beat.
yeah.
You, on the other hand, Queen of the South, nowhere. So I think pretty easy to default to Donna Strubling, but I'm gonna have to go against her here.
Okay, and I'm trying to understand your choice in Queen of the South. Now, I've seen races where she needed a pace setter to get home. Renee probably will be the pace setter here, but I think it's a bit questionable. As it relates to Donna's True Bling, though, I think she has this race as easy as she can like it. She doesn't need a pace setter. She doesn't need to come far off the pace. Here in this replay, she was really close up, which I expect her to be Saturday as well. In a sprint race with 4 furlongs to go, and you're tugging the jockey out of the saddle. I think it's very commendable. And Saturday, I expect similar conditions. I expect similar circumstances, and I do not expect her to fail. I think in the Pick-6 sequence, if you're going to single a horse, I think it is Donna's True Bling.
Really? Yeah, so you're talking about, I'm gonna come to that in a second because that is, in my opinion, wild. But you talk about how she was being held strongly, and I think this is why I love Queen of the South in this spot because this race was dominated on the front by Marengo and Donna Strubling because they were allowed to walk. In a sprint, to be able to get away with 25 and 4 fractions, you almost went 26 to the quarter. And Queen of the South is finishing better than anyone else. So I think if she were to able to get that pace that you mentioned, she is very dangerous. And then with the presence of Jericho and Renee, I don't see this trip materializing for Donna Strubling and Marengo, which I think helps. It doesn't hurt Donna Strubling, but I think it helps Queen of the South a little bit more. And Queen of the South, who has like 5 starts at the 1100 meters and won 3 of them and should have won that one. So she, with pace in her last start, she could have been 4 for 5 at the trip. I just think Queen of the South is going to be the one to beat. With Ricky walking 119 pounds, well weighted, everything just points in that direction for me. I respect Donna Strubling and have her second. And then Mikal for me, she just towered over an inferior group last time. I think stepping up, she'll be great.
I do agree with your Macau cause. As you said, she was against a lower class and she absolutely bullied them. She unfaired them from beginning to end. I saw her about in the 8th path with 3 furlongs to go, and she circled the field, put 4 lengths in them, and simply drew away to win. But in this situation, she is going up against a bit better horses. So I have to put her on my third line. I can't put her any higher. If she wins, she has to win without me. But nothing stops her. Once you enter the gates, you do have a shot.
No, agreed. She's definitely very competitive with this group, but I'm gonna have to put her to round out the tray for me as well. But Queen of the South for me in this spot.
Topping up your account made easy. Go to BarbadosTurfClub.org. Click Betting and select Top Up Account. Scroll down to select your desired amount and click Add to Cart. Click View Cart, verify your amount, then proceed to checkout. Fill out your billing details and click Place Order, and you'll be ready to bet.
And on to race 4, where we have a look at the Fish Cakes and Bakes handicap. This is a race going 9 furlongs for horses rated 60 and below. As we look through this race, you'd notice both I and Rashaun have Drogon as a winner.
Yeah, Drogon is definitely the one to be in this spot, but we're gonna have to obviously start with Papillon, who we both want to give some attention to as well. And her last start was just abysmal. Like you think, okay, 10 furlongs, the Derby winner is gonna be the one that you want, but she's taking top weight. I was against Thursday, but the ride definitely did not help, or the trip. I'm not sure if there was equipment issues or if this were to plan Kobia, but she was last early, and then she's wide and she rushes up. Yes, they're going slow to start, but then she just picks up the race super early and runs off. And this is not the trick that you're going to end up winning a 10 furlong with.
And Papillon has never been the type of horse we know to ever be interested in picking up a race at the top of the stretch for the first time around. She's usually a bigger closer. You usually look for her from the 2 furlong home. And she uncharacteristically was pretty headstrong. I'm not sure if the pace was too slow. I'm not sure if there was some kind of issue undercover that we don't know about, but it wasn't her. And I do have a hard time finding some kind of relevant consistency with her.
Yeah, that's definitely a valid concern because you look through her form line, she has like some noticeable wins, but then after that is clunker after clunker. And I think with Muhammad getting on, which is something we can talk about a lot going forward with Ricky on Malala, it's interesting. But then we jump back to Drogon, who we both have on top, who just got such a patient ride and came with that last run. And he's getting back into some form. He had won a few races in a row, lost a couple, and now he's back. And I think, as you think as well, that this is a spot you want Drogon again.
Yeah, I think Drogon, again, teaming up with Raheem Thorpe, taking 5 pounds off, going to post with 119 pounds. 9 furlongs, right back up his alley again. Earlier on in his career, Drogon version 1 was not as astounding as this one, and I think I prefer this one way better. No. And he's going up the ladder with every question, and he's doing marvelous. Very glad for the connections.
He's doing really well. So he is definitely going to take some beating. I'm going to put my Papillon on my second line because I just think now that she's claiming getting a new rider. Again, I'm not necessarily nailing Ricky to the cross. I'm also not sure if he chose Malala or if that's, a decision by the connections. He's won on Malala her last 2 starts.
Okay.
And then Fantastic Shantae underneath for me. I think she's a hard-knocking filly. And Malala, I think this is a race to really gauge where Malala is now that she's coming out of her maiden and non-winners conditions. Ricky Walker's aboard 114 pounds. If she's to, compete in this group, 114 pounds on this day will definitely help. So, but I think this is Drogon and then everybody else.
Okay, on my second line, I actually went for Fantastic Shantae. Reason being, what we missed in Drogon's last start, his last win, was pace. And I think that's where Fantastic Shantae is going to be comfortable. Up front, dawdling along just as she likes. But I do think Drogon will be better on the day. They're about 2 pounds difference between the two of them. But I can see Drogon getting the better of her later on in the race. My third line, I did go for War Party. And War Party, I've noticed, is a type of horse that takes quite a lot of riding. So I do hope the jockey tries to get her active within the 3 furlong pole, really has to get after him. And on my final and last leg, I went for horse number 4, Papillon, the Derby winner. I do need her to find some kind of consistency. I do need to find a trend for her, and she's making it more and more difficult every race day.
No, 100%. I'm going off back class here with Papillon, the claim, and hopefully it can come through. But we'll see how the Fish Gates and Bakes handicap goes. Race number 5, it's the Green Monkeys handicap. And I think this is one of the most competitive races on the card. It features a bunch of 3-year-olds who, in another reality, would be running in the Derby, and one that, in particular, a lot of people thought may have gone to the Derby after his last couple of starts is Bahari Cove.
Yeah. Bahari Cove, his last 2 starts against open class, and you'd say on paper, harder class than what he's faced before, has quite honestly surprised me. He's done very, very well. In his last sprinting effort, where he faced horses like Bajan Azteca, Mikal, Life is Great, and Jericho, I thought he was a bit outclassed, and I thought maybe he'd relish going back against his age group, but he quite defied me. Earlier in the race, around the 3 furlong pole, he was in behind horses right here at the top of the stretch. He got in trouble again. I was able to overcome that. Again, I say with older horses, more experienced horses, and had a flying finish. If this horse can replicate any of this Saturday, I don't see why this horse should be beaten. Whether he drew 12, 5, or 1, I don't think the gate difference is going to make. I don't think the gate draw is going to make a difference to him.
Yeah,
I think
so I think
classy.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's definitely classy. Now, on the other hand, I am going to hold the draw against him. It's 5 flat. So they're going to break and go straight. If he has the speed to get over, he could sit a good trip. But I'm obviously not going to try to bet a horse that's going to be less than 2-1 in this spot. So I'm going to go with De Courcy. I think Bahari Cove in that race that you mentioned is, he ran with open company with Mikal 2 starts back and was pretty impressive, being joined and winning last time out. But I think the 107 pounds with the weight break and open company is what helped him step up. But he's a horse in form. For me, De Courcy, because a big horse like De Courcy, if you've ever seen him physically, you'd think, okay, he's going to route. But it seems like the shorter, the better for De Courcy. And he has good speed and does really well at these shorter distances. He's also won twice, and one of those has been at 1,000 meters. And a couple starts back, I think. Yeah, 2 starts back. He ran behind Simmer Down and then Bahari Cove and Dr. B, who did heated in front of him. And I think that Bahari Cove got such a really good ride up the inside. And if Bahari Cove is unable to get any sort of ground savoring trip, the Coursey who's going to be on the pace might be able to turn this, half a length into a victory. Because as you see, the Bahari Cove that you like was able to run up the inside of the Coursey and beat him. But I think now De Courcy's drawn a little bit more to the inside. I'm hoping that the draw for Bahari Cove is going to work against him, but I 100% agree that the class of Bahari Cove should make him very, very tough. Yeah. And then just a horse that I am unsure what to do with, that you have is Northern Lady, number 8. I thought this horse had one way of going. One way of going.
I thought so too, I thought so too.
then she comes last time out and rates and wins by open lengths, and I'm like, who is
And
this? So
just runs right by them. I
yeah,
was not looking for that.
no, I was not either. So now I'm using her defensively because if I still had the idea that she was this one-dimensional speed bullet, I would not like her in this spot. But the fact that she was able to rate last time out, I don't know what kind of wonky race ran, but she was able to rate and win. So I think if she replicates that, she definitely belongs.
Okay, where we differ is our second line. I like Tiptoe. Call me crazy, but I did enjoy his last effort. He was able to rate and sit off of the pace, and I think that's the best thing to do in a 5 flat race. I do notice that the pace setters tend to fall away very, very, very quickly at the top of the stretch, and the closers come with a massive run and blow right by those pace setters. So horses like Marvel, I think Marvel's going to show blinding speed, but at the top of the stretch, the closers are going to come, and I think Tiptoe is going to be one. I
Yeah,
think
I think it's important to note that Tiptoe's last race was very solid. He probably raced in outer space because he didn't feel any pressure. So I think now stepping into this field, this is a little deep. I respect the fact that he's now, trending in the right direction again. Whereas I think he has to deal with Paper Trail, Marvel. Paper Trail's a horse that I also have no idea what to do with. Can I trust him? Can I not? If he wins this race, I'm not surprised, but he'd have to beat me. And then Simmer Down. So I also, and De Courcy as well. So I think with that pace presence and the horses that are coming behind him, I may want someone else, but I understand why Tiptoe. And then Simmer Down, I think I implore you to go watch her last start. Very rough ride, very rough trip. Cutting back, I think she will be a part of the final four. So that's it for me in race number 5. Race number 6, it's the Run Barbados Marathon Handicap. And I said the race prior was competitive, but my God, this one is just as. It's for the 7-pound claimant apprentices. And we know this race is going to get a lot of eyes because there was some pre-race drama with this. But you're going to be hoping with this one. I thought this was going to be the high 5 race, but you're going to stick with Kadeem Muhammad's choice of writing 17 million US.
Yeah, I have to. When I look back at her last start on paper, this race is identical. Absolutely nothing has changed.
Right.
The best shot again, I think, is for her to sit in behind the pace setter, allow the pace to not necessarily get away from her, but get comfortable. And at a 2 furlong pole, switch out and run past whoever is in front of her. I think she's better than all. I think she can get the job done again. As I said, identical race. There's no questions here for me.
No, yeah, 17 million US is definitely found herself again, and it's good to see that a mare who 6 years ago was a classic winner and now at 9 is finding some good form is promising to see. For me, I'm gonna go with Amaretta. Again, she's the one that's really kind of lost their way. But her last start behind 17 million US, so 2 starts back, she flattened out in a race where I thought she could have run a lot better. And up the backstretch, I think her rider Thorpe makes a very decisive move that loses the race for them. Again, you got to make split-second decisions, and sometimes it does not work out. You're on the rails, and then you angle when the race gets wider, 5 wide, which allows 17 million US to slip into the pocket that you were just in, right? And as 17 million US is now advancing, you are 5 wide and losing ground to the best horse in the race. So again, maybe she could have sat and in this spot that 17 million US is in and end up still losing. But I think trip for trip, 17 million US really benefited from Amaretta going wide. And after she went wide, she just flattened out. So I'm going to take a little shot in the dark here with Amaretta. Hopefully Cox can get the job done again. They're all 7-pound claimant apprentices. So that's where I'm going to go. And then after that, you really could go anywhere. My bomb for this spot is number 10, Crime Watch. And I really think if you have the time, watch both of his last 2 starts. Wide trips, rank, rushing up. Just so much is going on. Maynard is aboard. And this is one of those races that you could get an upset. And I'm going to go very deep into Pick-6 with this spot. The Crime Watch is as they say colloquially, my bad one in this spot.
My in the dark horse for this race is actually I'm Sid. I I'm Sid, better known in the paddock as Mr. Sharkman. He's not the biggest, he's not the widest, he's not. I'm Sid is Sid. Sid is tiny.
Yeah.
But Sid has a massive heart, and every time he goes out there, he gives 110%. Now, I do find Sid does relish a bit of a cut in the going, and we would have to see how Saturday's going looks. We wouldn't know for right now. Um, but with Shaquille Bellamy, who's accustomed to riding Sid, I think I'm Sid could be one that I keep an eye on. I think if 17 million US fails me Saturday for whatever reason, I'm Sid is going to be right there in the slips, waiting to take the catch and go on to win again.
No, yeah, this is gonna be a really tough leg to get through in this sequence. I think there are a lot of horses that warrant consideration. Caribbean Kitten just won
This
last
is
time
where
out,
everyone is going to go deep in their pick 6, or they should go deep.
or they should go deep. Exactly. Caribbean Kitten just won last time out. Their Social Distance, who's one of the class horse in the race, he's rated 34, and this is a 35 and lower. You have Brunei and Rare Nickel, who's dropping in class. Riddick's coming off of a win, but also coming off of a layoff. So again, there are a
Yeah.
lot of directions to point. A lot of people also would probably handicap this race by the column over and see which jockey they want in this apprentice race. So there's so many ways you can go. But I am gonna
As
I'm
I've
gonna
been told before, with some of these apprentice races, you look for whoever's the best in your opinion
right.
and keep your fingers
And go from
crossed.
there. Yeah.
Anything can happen.
So I'm gonna hope that in those scenarios where anything can happen, it's Amaretta turn the tables on 17 million US.
Let's start betting. Go to BarbadosTurfClub.org. Click Betting and select Mobile Wagering Information. To the left, click Start Betting. Enter your account and PIN to log in. Select Event. Then select the race followed by your bet type. And choose your bet amount. Select your horse or horses. When finished, click Bet, verify, and click Accept, and you're ready to win.
Race number 7. It's the big one. It's the Grade 1 Visit Barbados Derby. It ends the Triple Crown.
Finally here.
Yeah, it's gonna crown a champion here, and I am very excited to see this race. This is one of the more competitive races for the Derby that we've had on paper for quite some time. I am going to stay with the Midsummer winner. You're gonna go against the Midsummer winner. Let's hear it.
Now, I find on track, specifically that we had on Midsummer Day, the what I call it off track. If you
Yeah.
look at the race day itself, we had a lot of outsiders. And I'm not saying that that's the reason Raconteur won, but it's a little hard for me to be confident in him for the Derby as well. My winner is Valiant.
Right.
Now, Valiant, I've seen win on soft, and I've also seen him win on good to firm. Now, the issue I had with his midsummer is Nostradamus was missing. When I say Nostradamus was missing, I mean the pace setter was missing. The front runner was setting the horse as supposed to break the bit and sprint off up front was missing. He did not necessarily have a target up front, and the track was soft and slow. It was
So
a
you
mess
think he's better with the target?
Yes, most definitely. He is better with a target.
So then with the target conversation, a horse that I like coming out of the Midsummer is Heidi Marie, and I wish I had a little bit more conviction to put her on top, but she's a horse I really like. As you see, she made a move pretty early and took over the race from Valiant. And I'm going to talk about it a little later in the replay with how they did not really beat her by that far after she made this early move. I also think she's a horse that's elevated when it gets wet. But back to Valiant, I could be persuaded that he is a horse that probably would be better being the hunter and not the hunted. Also off the bench and putting yourself in new dynamics where you're leading and up on the pace is probably hard to do, especially on a track that when it's an off track like this, horses seldom lead or sit that close to the lead and win. So I give that to you. Why I think like I like Raconteur coming out of the midsummer and why I trust him going forward. He's not really run a bad race. You know, he kind of flunked in his debut and he's just gotten better ever since then. I think this is an effort he was primed to give, whether it was firm, soft, glass, sand, or marl. I think that this is a horse that's just doing really well. And someone pointed out to me, and it's not a heavy stat, but that Andrew Nunes, when his horses win the midsummer, they win the Derby. And again, very small sample, can the moon people's champ, but I think this is a horse that is just getting good. And if you look here, what I mentioned with Heidi Marie, they passed her at like 3 furlongs to go, and then Josiah, who unfortunately is missing from this race, and that's a big blow to this race. And Valiant didn't go far away from her, and I think if she gets a more patient ride, she will be one of the horses to watch, an underdog of sorts. And the Derby has been running with underdogs for the last couple of years, but
Yeah.
I just think I find it hard to overturn the 5 lengths, or even to Heidi Marie's probably like 7 lengths in Raconteur.
Okay. So, Rashaun, something I have seen for this Triple Crown specifically, have you noticed no favorites have won any of the legs?
No, so that's definitely alarming. And when I say all the time, like, okay, you missed the wedding, now you're showing up for the funeral. It's like, okay, you missed when they won at long odds, and now they win. Everyone's aware, so everyone jumps on them, and now they're gonna lose when they're at shorter odds. And that is definitely
Good.
something that, yeah, that's something that's definitely a valid concern when it comes to Raconteur. I liked him going into the midsummer. I preferred Josiah on that spot. Now there's no Josiah. I think Raconteur is just the next best. And I'm gonna trust that a favorite is gonna finally come through in this Triple Crown series. It's gonna be hard necessarily to, in my opinion, look outside of the favorite or the favorite. And yeah, I respect Valiant, have him third. I think off the bench, again, as I mentioned with the midsummer, I think War Eagle being able to come off the bench and perform the way he did in the Triple Crown is kind of influencing the reputation of Valiant. And I'm not a big supporter of that right now.
Okay. So just as I said with outsiders winning both the Guineas and the Midsummer, I can't leave out Mandarin Oriental. Mandarin Oriental, yes, was one of the horses missing for a little bit in the earlier half of the year, but he made a very respectable return. And he retains the jockey who he had to return with. And when I look at the connections, these are identical connections to last year's Derby winner, Papillon. Trained by Ricky Walker. Ridden by Ricky Walker, trained by Ramel Lovell. I think they have the ability to go 2 for 2. Now, they're not on my top line because, in my opinion, at least, they're not on Valiant nor Raconteur's level, but I could be wrong. This is where I want Mandarin Oriental to prove me wrong. I think on paper, this is my third place horse, but definitely if my first two fail, there's no other horse that's coming there besides Mandarin Oriental.
No, he's definitely a very honest horse. If he were to win the Derby, though, I will be out of the Pick-6 if I am alive to that leg. I am going to be very candid about that. The connections are there. Also, he does have a relation to Papillon because he's out of Leave It to Me. Papillon's dam is out of Leave It to Me. So the family is definitely a Derby family. And his return off the bench against, older season mare like Fantastic Shante was very solid. But I think, jumping up into this caliber second off the bench, again, like kind of like with Valiant, and I don't think he's as good as Valiant, is going to be hard. But go ahead.
I must reflect on the Guineas winner. She must get a name call in this conversation. Yes, she was missing for the Midsummer, and I think that may be a blessing in disguise because I don't think she would have relished the conditions. But her big question mark now, can she get 2,000 meters? She's one of the few in the field who has never even gone 9 furlongs. She's won brilliantly going 7, but she has a question mark going 9. And if she has a question mark going 9, you have to be even less confident with her going 10. But when you look at her bloodline, there's no question about sustainability. But does she know that?
Right. I think like you look at her and people assume she just can't stay, but her sire won a Tanglewood, sorry. Her mother was a runner-up in the Midsummer. So the pedigree is there, just her flashiness and her speed make people doubt it. she's looking to be the first Guineas winner to miss the Midsummer and win the Derby since Apostle. So that's a lot of history to buck. And I think you're correct. She would not have loved the Midsummer at all. Those conditions would have
You
eaten
know
her
what goes through
alive.
my head, Rashaun?
What?
Do you think she's gonna go 20 clear like poetic license?
So obviously that's going to be the thing on everybody's mind. And after they did it in the Guineas, I think it would be a good tactic because I don't think she's going to outstay the others if she stays close to them. I am just not sure that I want her, and I also don't see her losing and finishing fourth. I think that she's beaten. She's going to finish up the rate up the track, and I don't mean that in a bad way, as in she's going to be hopelessly beaten. But I think like if it becomes a question of if she's going to stay and if the conditions aren't favorable, I think
Yeah.
Nostradamus is a little in over her head here. And I respect her. I really love The Price is Right. So her Nostradamus is definitely a horse after my own heart. But I think also she didn't miss the Midsummer by choice, So that's definitely something in the back of my mind where it's like this was not always the plan. But yeah, I don't necessarily love her in this spot.
Okay, and that was it for the 86th running of the Barbados Derby. We're on to the nightcap. This is race 8. This is the last lap handicap. My apologies. For horses rated 55 and lower, and we're going to have a sprint for the last race. Rashaun, I can't ignore Thunder Lady. I'm sorry. I know we share very different opinions there, but I simply can't leave her out. Her last effort, I had her as a winner. I had her as a big 30-5, 40-1 bomber, but they caught her deep stretch. And I think that was absolutely fine because this wasn't her first start off the bench. This was her second start off the bench, but she showed me exactly what I needed to see, which was blinding speed and just the ability to run through the stretch. Just show me you're still interested. And that she did. She brought them to the top of the stretch, did her own fraction. She was uncontested. She was kept honest by Criterion, but Criterion was never able to head her. And I don't think in this race, anyone will be able to head her either. I think she's going to have an easy lead. I think she's going to do as she likes up front. It's just for her to finish the race.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time where our colleague Lyndon Yard would always say class is class and form is temporary. I think she's getting back into pretty good form, but class. This is a 55-35 race, and she's rated 34, so she's not even in the class bracket of what was carded. And the horses that she's running with, Caribbean Kid and Criterion, I just don't think they're of the same metal of the likes of Social Circle and Life is Great, Red Force. I think she's obviously a player because of the speed, and is it really fair that 4 or 5 horses are going to run by her? Maybe not, but I'm going to be completely against her. And I'm actually very surprised that this is the boat that I'm in, and I'm in it by myself. But I like Life is Great in this spot. I just think it's time to get back to that form that we became so accustomed to at the beginning of the year.
Unplaced in his last 4 starts.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of circumstances have probably gone into that, stepping up in class and stepping up in trip. There have been a lot of things, but I think now that he's back with what, again, colloquially we say, his friends, I think he's definitely in a pretty good spot to be able to win here. There's a lot of speed signed on with Thunder Lady and Social Circle, so Life is Great. I think we'll get a very solid trip.
Okay.
So yeah, and then like with Social Circle, I think he's definitely a big player, and you saw that he's going to come out of a spot with Premise and Red Force, and they're horses that are, in my opinion, solid players here. I think Red Force runs a lot better rating when he's sprinting because he's just that one same plotter, and then Premise has really shown up in his last couple starts. Had a clunker last time out, but these are just the 3 horses I think can run down a horse like Thunder Lady.
I think Social Circle is probably going to be the only horse that's able to see where Thunder Lady goes. I don't think he is as fast as her. I think she's brilliant speed. I think he's going to be just on her flank, similarly to how Criterion was in their last start. And I think he's going to be strong enough to finish second. And that's That's as good as he's going to be for me. Life is Great is on my third line. As much as he has been inconsistent recently, I think he's good enough to at least place third. You know, some horses follow the form, and there's always that one race that brings him back on. And I think if there's any for him, it needs to be this one. So third is the minimum for him, in my opinion. Leah, I don't like the draw, but I love the horse. Beautiful dark bay filly. But as we say all the time, she's in the sand. The speed from Thunder Lady, I don't think she's ever going to get close to. The weight difference is too massive. I think everything is against her, but class is going to bring her to at least fourth for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I respect her a little bit, but the things you mentioned, the weight and the draw, I just find a few of the others are a bit better suited in this spot than she is, and she's coming off of the layoff as well. She has races in her that make her competitive, but I am going to look elsewhere. I just put Gaze to round out my high five.
Gaze, I found, ran a bit better at 7.8 than sprinting for me, but at the end of the day, anything under a mile is considered a sprint. So if you can do it there, I believe you should be able to do it here.
Right. So yeah, that was the last leg of the Pick-6. Speaking of the Pick-6, we're going to jump right into it with our 50-cent ticket. I am going to start very, very courageously with two singles because I think I have to spread a little further. So in the first two legs, I'm going to single Queen of the South and Drogon. I think they are definitely major players in those spots. Then in race number 5, I'm going to go 3, 5, 8, 9, and 12. Very competitive race. Respect paper trail, just not sure what kind of paper trail I'm going to get. 5, 8, 9, and 12, the other 3-year-olds. And in race number 6, the apprentice race. This is a race that I'm not going to let one apprentice ride the race of his life and beat me. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 5, 10, and 11, and 14. I'm hoping Crime Watch could really light the Pick-6 up here in this spot. Then in the Derby, Heidi Maria just think ran a very solid race in the midsummer, and I wouldn't be surprised if she's going to be a la Papillon, a la Nzinga and surprise them. Valiant, I respect, but I'm against. And then number 6, Rock on Tour. And then race 8, I'm just going to go pretty simple. 6 and 7, Social Circle, and Life is Great, the class of the field. And that's my $90 ticket.
So, Rashaun, when I reflect on my Pick-6 ticket, I started with Donna's True Bling and Renee in my first leg. Donna's True Bling, the class of the field, the form horse in the field. Renee, yes, 130 pounds, but he will appreciate the apprentice claim. The 7-pound off puts him at 123. It will be a game of catch me if you can. Donna should be able to catch him, but just in case, because I'm not so confident she will be able to, I have to take out 2. In race 4, Drogon, hands down, no questions asked. That's my single for the day. In race 5, the flat 5, the Green Monkey Handicap, Tiptoe and Bahari Cove, one from the inside, one from the outside. Bahari Cove, let's see how good you are. I do think this is going to be a big question, a big ask of you. But in my opinion, I think you're good enough to get it done. The apprentice race, Rashaun, you went super deep here. I went half as deep as you. I went with Amoretta, I'm Sid, and 17 million US. Honestly, the 3 horses that always win apprentice races.
Right.
And onto the Derby, where I went with Valiant, Mandarin Oriental, and Rack Tour. And if I'm going to be honest with you, to win this Pick-6, I have to look for an outsider. I think the outsider that's going to hit Saturday, is Mandarin Oriental. I really don't see any other massive outsider hitting. Maybe in the apprentice race, but I'm thinking it's going to come from the Derby, and I'm thinking it's going to come with Mandarin Oriental. I would not leave out the Ricky Walker, Ramel Level combination. It hardly ever goes wrong. And in the last leg, Thunder Lady, and I add your 2, Social Circle and Life is Great. Basically, 2 front runners and one to catch them. Let's see how that goes. My ticket stands at $54. Rashaun, good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck to you. So there you have it. That was the Pick-6 sequence for the Visit Barbados Derby Raceday. Again, thank you for tuning in to Pillar to Post for Kobia Hamblin. I am Rashaun Alleyne, and may all your tickets be winning ones.